It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing to have something, a product like this. Forget that she's my daughter. She's a product.
Before Paige would rack up title belts, winning the WWE Divas Championship twice, 13 titles in Europe, and the WWE Next Women's Championship once.
Divas Champion, Paige!
Before Paige became reality diva royalty, landing a spot on E! Network's Total Divas as one of the WWE Divas who the hit show would feature on a weekly basis.
Shit, I've already said diva like 6 times.
Whoa, what was that? Paige is looking at it.
Before Paige became a victim of hackers and what some would call the Fappening 2.0, and videos leaked would show her engaged in 3-way sex acts with 2 pro wrestlers, and in one video she got freaky with the champion belt. Uh-oh.
Saraya is living the American dream.
Before Paige would get a phone call from Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson notifying her that his production company would be making a movie about her life.
If you smell what The Rock is cooking!
Paige grew up in England, and after toying with the idea of becoming a zoologist, she became pretty certain on what she was going to do with the rest of her life. Become a professional wrestler, getting started when she was just 13 years young.
Your nipples on! Ow!
At 14, Paige would send tapes of her matches all over the world, which resulted in bookings in places like Scotland, Ireland, Turkey, and Denmark. Her youth and wrestling ability gave her a huge following in the UK, as she won multiple world championships before she even learned to drive a car. It was this talent that caught the eyes of pro wrestling scouts across the pond, which eventually led her to commit to the biggest pro wrestling company in the world, the WWE. Now, this edition of Before They Were Famous comes on the heels of a massive leak of the Paige sex tape. If there's one thing I've learned about covering pro wrestling, it's that the matches might be fake, but the orgasms are all real, and sometimes involve world champions. Seriously, check out our Hulk Hogan After Their Famous video. It's not pretty. Hogan saw his net worth dwindle as he dealt with lawsuits, sex tapes, injuries, and settlements. His life started to turn into that of Mickey Rourke's character Randy in The Wrestler.
I'm an old, broken down piece of meat, and I deserve to be all alone.
What's going on, guys? My name is Mike McCrudden, documenting the life and career of WWE Diva Paige, here for you on Before They Are Famous. As always, be sure to let us know in the comments down below who you want me to document next.
She's a pretty little thing. She's eye candy on posters. She's money in merchandise. Just having her face on my stuff, I can guarantee selling it.
Paige was born Sarah Jade Bevis on August 17, 1992 in Norwich, England. Her mother, Julia Harner Bevis, was a pro wrestler who didn't know it at the time but had a match while she was 7 months pregnant with Paige. Go figure. Her father, Evan Bevis, was a professional wrestler, and he started an independent wrestling federation all over the UK, often wrestling alongside his wife, daughter, and 2 sons.
5 wrestlers in the family, each with 2 sets of gear per gimmick. About 13 different sets of wrestling gear that I have to have washed every day.
Having watched her mother, father, and brothers all suffer injuries while in professional wrestling rings, Paige declared at a young age that she would not be joining the family business. Her intentions were to get into zoology instead. When she was only 10 years old, her father set up a wrestling boot camp for local indie wrestlers to learn the craft. That's when she stepped in the ring for the first time, but did so out of boredom as opposed to having dreams of becoming a pro wrestler.
It's really boring. Zach would get me in the ring and throw me about and stuff like that, so I always knew like a couple of moves and stuff.
In 2005, Paige's father approached her during one of his indie wrestling events when one of the scheduled wrestlers didn't show. He begged her to lace up a pair of wrestling boots, and she did, wrestling under the name Brittany Knight. A 13-year-old Paige tag-teamed her mother and lost her first match. Jeez, it wouldn't be her last loss or her last tag team. I should have said that.
If they do get in there, pride, I'd burst. My heart would probably burst.
Paige was somewhat of a pro wrestling prodigy. She started taking bumps in a pro wrestling ring at the age of 10 and had pro matches at just 13. By the way, by taking bumps, I mean falling down. Not the kind of bumps you would take for failing 2 drug tests. 2 times. Those are different.
Saraya's lucky enough just to be great in everything. So I sit there sometimes and I think, you little bitch.
For From there, Paige was hit by the pro wrestling bug and began her career as a pro wrestler at only 14 years young. As I mentioned in the intro, she would go on to wrestle all over Europe. Then in 2006, at the age of 15, Paige would go on to win her first pro wrestling championship. Paige would now become a notorious wrestler throughout Britain as Brittany Knight began building up quite an impressive list of titles. From 2006 to 2010, Paige would acquire 13 titles from various companies before catching the eye of the biggest business of them all, the WWE. In 2010, the WWE rolled into London, England to put on a live event, and Paige was invited to try out for the organization. Many thought she was a lock-in to receive a contract, but she surprisingly failed her first tryout. However, not to be deterred, she went for a second tryout in April of 2011, and by November was officially WWE talent. Ironically enough, another member of her family, her pro wrestling brother, tried out at the same time and was denied. How awkward.
You little bitch.
In 2011, Paige said her goodbyes to her family and moved to Orlando, Florida, where she became a part of WWE's development program. It was there that they came up with the Paige character, who was originally supposed to be a bit of a computer nerd. However, Paige made the character her own and quickly became a fan favorite. In 2013, she would go on to become the first WWE Next Women's Champion.
They say it's like TNA, tits and R's, that's what we're there for. I want to change that. I want to be for wrestling as well. That's the whole point of me wanting to come here.
On April 7, 2014, Paige would make an unannounced surprise during the Monday Night Raw that took place after WrestleMania. What happened next shocked the wrestling world, as Paige would go on to defeat AJ Lee for the WWE Divas Championship on her Raw debut. Now, if you guys want me to go into more detail about her life and career, you need to request it in an After Their Famous video, which I would be more than happy to make. I mean, we've done the same for Hulk Hogan and The Undertaker. Be sure to check those out, but let me know if you want more in the comments down below. See you guys in the next video.